In this HubSpot tutorial, I'll walk you through the steps of creating your first HubSpot module from scratch. I'll start my project inside CodePen and then move to HubSpot, where I'll add editable fields so that content editors can edit the content and styles on their pages. Hi, I'm Jake Lett, and I share digital marketing tips and HubSpot tutorials to help you grow your business. Okay, let's get started. A common component or module on a lot of product pages is having a product details section where we have this key and a value. And I want to be able to add this to my HubSpot website, something similar. So usually what I do when I create a module is I first just create the HTML structure in CSS in a website called CodePen, because it does a nice job of giving you these panels where you can do HTML, CSS, and JavaScript separately, and you can kind of work out the visual structure of the module before you actually put it inside of HubSpot. So I'm not going to walk through the code line by line, but I just wanted you to kind of see the structure that I have here. For the CSS, I try to do comments so I know what fields I want to have the user be able to edit. So in this case, I have user can change the border color because the user might want to have a different color there or even hide it altogether. And also this max width. Right now I have a max width of this module, but the user might want it to be full width. So when I create the module inside of HubSpot, I want to be able to make this changeable basically. And also I want them to change the border color here. So I kind of go through line by line and see what would be user editable and what wouldn't be. Let's create a new one to kind of match this CodePen that I have built. So in order to do that, we're going to go back to the design tools area, and I'm going to create my own folder underneath these default ones. To file, new folder, and I'm going to do custom, or just do Jake, so I know it's for me, modules, and then do create. Okay, so once I have that folder created, I'm going to right click on this again and do file, and you'll see new file in Jake modules. And then there's this drop down, HTML and Hubble. And if you click on that, you'll have more options. So HTML and Hubble, you'd use that when you're trying to create like a partial file, or if you're creating an email template, or maybe just a landing page template. But in this case, we're doing a module. So I'm going to click on that and do next. After you create your module, it gives you the option to specify where you will allow someone to edit the module. So you can have pages, blog posts, blog listings, and quotes. In our case, we just wanted to be available on website pages and landing pages. So I'm going to do pages. And then it says module content scope, local and global module. The best way to think about these things is a global module would be like your header and footer, where if you make a change to your header, you want it to be applied on every single page that's using it. And a local is a page level setting. So you can add your module to a page, change it, and then on another page, add the module again and change it, and those two different pages will be totally different. And then you give it a name. So in my case, I'm going to call it description list and do create. Okay, so now you'll see a panel, editor panel, very similar to CodePen, where you have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and the preview. So the only thing that's kind of missing is the preview area, but I'll show you how you can preview your modules. So what I do next is you want to give it a label. So this is what is going to be seen on the page creation sidebar. So you don't necessarily need to use lowercase and hyphens in this case. So you want it to be make it more readable. So I'm going to make it description list. And then what I do is I copy my HTML that I have in my CodePen here, paste it inside of this HTML plus Hubble section. I grab my CSS, paste it into CSS, and move this over to have some more room. And here's my module here. So I don't need to do any JavaScript right now, so if you click on this, it will kind of minimize the area, give you more room. So at this stage, let's just preview things and see how things are looking. And you can do that by going to preview. And you'll see a preview of what currently is inside of the module. You might notice that if you have a theme that the font isn't looking right, or if you have a grid system that your theme is using, it's not working. The reason for that is this preview is bare bones. It doesn't bring any of your theme styling in there. So what I usually use a preview for is just making sure that the content is being displayed in the right way. And then when I want to test the actual styling of things, I test it inside of a page with that theme applied. So another thing I wanted to point out here is where it says make available in templates and pages. So let's say you're creating a module and you don't want users to use it until it's complete or ready. You definitely want to uncheck this. And then that way no one can use it while you're still working on it. Okay, so that way we're safe. No one's going to use it while we're working on this. The other thing I wanted to note here, there's two different ways of creating modules. I'm using the browser version in Design Tools just because for me it's easier to visualize what I'm doing. But you definitely can create it using the command line. In the description of this video, I'll have links to how to do that. But usually my workflow is I create it in the browser and then get the basic content in place, and then I pull it into my local development and make changes from there. For me, it's just a little easier. Okay, so now we're going to try to make this more dynamic and allow a user to add the content into these sections. So I want to make a field for this description list module title. So underneath here it says fields. So I'm going to do add field, and these are all the different field types that we could add. We could add date and time, embed. And in this case, I just want it to just be plain text. I don't want them to be able to make it styling or add images or anything like that, like they put in rich text. I just want it to be basic text that we can insert there. So I'm going to give it a name called title. And then for here, I have key value pair here, which is the item title, item description. So in order to do that, we're going to do another field, text for this too, and give this a name called item title. Let's do item title so it's unique. Item title. And then we're going to do a new field, but this is going to be a rich text field because I want to give them the ability to make multiple lines of text and also format the text if they want to. So I'm going to do add field and search rich text, and we'll put description or item description. So now that we have this, we want these to be a group because we want this to be like repeated multiple times as a user would add different product details in this case. So in order to do that, we go to this actions panel and then do group. And it says select one or more fields to group together. So I'm going to select item title, item description, and then I'll do create group. And for now, I'm just going to leave this default just so it's clear that this is a field group. And in order to go back, there's this little icon here. You want to click on that to go back to the main field here. So we have our title, which will be this, and then our field group here. So in order to get this value that the user could input into this HTML code, what you do is do actions and then copy value only. And you would replace this title with this here. So we have module title. And then for this field group, before we add these values in here, I want the user to be able to add new groups if they have multiple details. So in order to do that, you click on the group and edit. And then where it says repeater option, I'm going to check this box. And then this will give the user the ability to add multiple items if they have them. And click back here. And so in order to get this populated here, we're going to click on this actions panel and do copy snippet. And I usually paste it below my code just to kind of visualize what's going on here. And you'll see it's a for loop. So it's going to say for the item inside of this module field group. So it's going to grab every instance of this group here. So what I want to do is where it says value, I want to take all this code out of this because I just want the value. And at this stage, I just want to just test this out to see if we're getting close to what we needed to do. So I'm going to publish this, and then I'm going to go back to preview, and you'll see title and a field group. So if I add text here, you should see something appear above here. So let's see. Great. So that's working. So if there's content inside this title field, it's going to populate above the description list. And for the field group, let's try adding one. So I'm going to put in an item title. At this point, if you have any questions about HubSpot modules, please leave them in the comments below. And if you would like to learn more about the HubSpot CMS development, I have a free HubSpot Developer's Guide you can download on my website. It is a quick reference with some common code snippets and links to developer resources. You can find the link to this free HubSpot Developer Guide in the video description below. So one thing that I do when I'm testing modules, obviously I don't want it to be available to all users to use and edit the module. But if what I do is I make it available, and then I add it to my testing page, and then I quickly turn it off. So I'm going to do that in this case here. I'm going to go to my page, add it to my page here, drag it in there, go back to my editor, and just uncheck it and publish it. That way I can test it inside the page and see how the styles are applied to the module. So I'm going to click on here, do title, and say, let's do product details. And this is the default code that I currently have in place. But for the field group, I'm going to do add one and do a key and then value. And I'm going to just duplicate this to see, or clone it to see if it's working. Yep. Okay. So overall, it's working. I can add the title. I can do a repeating field group and have a key and a value. So going back to my editor here, I have these. I need to use this loop and replace this section here, where I have a div Jake-DL item. So what I'm going to do is cut this and place it inside the for loop here. And then where it says item.item_title, cut that, and put it into the item title section here. And then do item.item_description, cut that, and select all this code here. And this will be a rich text field here. Remove those empty spaces and let's move this over here. Okay, great. So now we have our title and then our for loop, which is going to have the repeating fields, and it will just duplicate this code for every time someone adds a new block of content. I'm going to publish changes, go back to my page, refresh, and then we have the key value. So it's looking like it's working here. So if I delete this, it's going to remove this group here. Okay, great. So now I want to add some fields for the styling of this module to see that way if the user wants to change the color or the width of this, making this full width, let's work on those style options. So this is the content fields here. And then if you scroll down, you'll see style fields. So I'm going to do create style group. And you'll have that as a default for the variable name style. And let's see the areas where I want them to have edit. So one thing that's important to remember is that where it says modules.css, this is like your styles that you want to apply at the global level for the module. But anything that's going to be user specific, It needs to be inside this HTML and Hubble section because it's using server-side code to grab the user selection and override the default styles. So these default styles are fine here, but what I want to do is move some of these into a scoped section so that when the user makes the changes, they will override the defaults. So in order to do that, the best place to go for information is the developer documentation. And I have a quick Chrome extension that helps me get there quickly. So I'm going to go to documentation, and I believe it's a function. So let's try that. So you'll see here these two functions, require CSS and require JS. So let's see what require CSS does. To enqueue an inline style to be rendered in the head via a style tag element, use the require CSS tag instead with your style. So that's what I want to have happen. So I'm going to select that and copy that. And then I'm going to paste this under my HTML. And then I'm going to do style. And so anything that I want to have user editable and scoped to the instance of this page, I need to enter in here. So let's do, I'm just going to do one of the options here. Let's do this one here, where they can set the width of the module to be full width if they want it to be. Let's make it a Boolean, so it's like a yes or no. Do you want it to have max width of 500, or do you want it to be full width? So let's do add field, and we'll do Boolean, and we'll say full width. And you'll notice if you put a question mark here, it's going to have this underscore. So just delete that. And I'm going to not check it by default. So I think that's all these things look good. So now I'm going to click over here. And then if you do actions, copy snippet, see what happens when I do that. So here it's going to have a conditional. It says if this has a value, display this code inside this block. So we can use that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it here. And where it says max width is going to be inside of that block. So we're saying if the full width field is checked, display this code here. So we want to do a reverse of that. So I'm going to do, you can write if not. So I'm saying if this field has no value, display the max width style property. So I'm going to publish this and test it out. Refresh my page. And so now I have a checkbox. So you'll see that the max width is 500. But if I check this, it will go to full width. So I did something wrong. Let's see what I did wrong here. Let's see if I take this off. Yep. So I had to remove that style property off my global CSS. And so now it's only applied if it's selected by the user. So that is the very basics of how to create a module with repeating fields and how to apply CSS styles that are scoped to the module. So let's summarize what we have accomplished here. We created a product attributes module that can be used by anyone on your team. The nice thing is if we need to adjust the styles or add a field later, we can make the change once and have it apply to all pages using the module. This modular design approach will save a lot of headaches later. HubSpot includes a library of default modules and is a good place to start when looking for inspiration on what you could build. For more tips, be sure to download my free HubSpot developer guide. You can find a link to this in the description below. If you'd like to learn more HubSpot developer tips, click into this playlist right here. And if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe for more digital marketing tips and tutorials. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.